Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly, look in my eyes.
Things I would have done differently in medical school if I had to do it again. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Zach with Dr. Eyeball MD. If you're new, I'm a third-year ophthalmology resident. Next year will be oculoplastics fellow. On the channel, we focus on everything about medicine, residency, ophthalmology, soon to be fellowships related. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel down below if you're interested in any of that stuff. In today's video, what I want to go over is 5 things that I would have done differently in medical school if I had to do it again. I've changed a lot since medical school, and so I'm just gonna go over, looking back, you know, with hindsight being 2020, things that I would have done differently that I think could have kind of helped me on my career path and just would have made medical school a lot more productive for me. And just kind of looking back, 5 things we'll get into in this video. So getting right into it, the first thing that I would have done differently in med school if I had to do it again is I would have sampled more specialties. Medical school is weird in that it makes you pick a specialty to go into. It makes you try to decide on a residency with really a limited amount of information in a lot of cases. You haven't rotated on a lot of the possible specialties you can go into. There's a lot of specialties in medicine that you will never see in medical school, or that you may see in your 4th year when it's basically too late to pick a specialty. So you may be a 3rd-year medical student and do your rotation in internal medicine, your rotation in general surgery, maybe your OB-GYN rotations. Maybe you get like 1 or 2 electives that you have to pick, and that's maybe what you have to go off of when you have to actually decide on what specialty you're gonna go into. So looking back, what I would have done differently is I would have actually taken the initiative between like the 1st and 2nd year of med school during that summer when we actually had off. What I would do differently is I would actually just find somebody in different subspecialties that I had some sort of inkling, some sort of interest in, and actually shadow them. I would have just reached out to a dermatologist and I would have said, hey, can I come just shadow for a couple days? And then maybe I would have reached out to an ENT doctor and done the same thing in urology. I would have spent more time with OMFS guys to see if I like that. And you know, just these specialties that you otherwise probably aren't gonna rotate through or aren't gonna get to see, just reach out to them, spend a few days with these guys, just so you have a full picture of the possibilities within medicine, because it can really help steer you toward a career path that otherwise you may never ever see. I luckily just happened to do an ophthalmology rotation as my elective. We got like 1 elective. I picked ophthalmology and I really liked it. But you know, what if I had liked something else or had more elective opportunities? I might have gone a completely different path. Who knows? That's what I would do. I just reach out to these departments, say, hey, can I just come shadow? They're always fine with you coming to shadow, almost always. They really don't mind. So just go spend a couple days watching the plastic surgeons, watching the ENT guys. But some of these like subspecialties that, like surgical subspecialties, if you're interested in a surgical subspecialty, you may not see it unless you reach out to them and actually kind of be proactive and go shadow them. And you may be thinking, I don't have a lot of time in med school, but just kind of find time, you know, whether it may be like skipping, you know, lectures for a day or 2 and just doing them at home, and spending that time shadowing somebody during the 1st and 2nd year. Just do it. You know, expose yourself to as much as possible, because you really have no idea what you're going to end up liking. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and this is probably a little controversial, and I don't know that I necessarily recommend this, but if I had to do it over personally, I probably would not have gone to class during the 1st and 2nd years. I went to class religiously. I never missed lectures, in-person lectures. Well, 85–90% of my class just did them from home and watched them at 2 times speed. So by the end of my 2nd year of med school, there was probably like 8 or 9 of us out of a class of 180 that were actually sitting in the lecture hall listening to lecture. And while I was just kind of in the mindset that I'm in medical school, if I'm just like doing this from home, like an online course, online class, like what the heck even is this? And I was just kind of in that mindset from high school and college, like you go to class, that's what you do. But looking back, I think I could have been more efficient if I had kind of taken the studying and the learning in my own hands and kind of focused it on what was maybe a little more important than what was covered in some of the lectures, in terms of like gearing it more towards step studying and things that really kind of more decided the trajectory of what kind of residency I got to get into. So I probably wouldn't have gone and sat for 4 or 5 hours a day in lecture if I had to do it again. I would have kind of just studied at home on my own if I had to do it again, because I think I could have been more productive that way. At least now I would be more productive that way. Maybe at the time I needed that to get out of bed. Probably I wouldn't have gotten up till 10 or 11 a.m. if I hadn't had to go to lectures, so maybe it wasn't all bad, but looking back, I probably would not have gone to lecture. The third thing is, if I had to do it again, I would have started my YouTube channel during med school. just because it would have made me kind of stand out, well, not just for this reason, but it would have kind of made me stand out for residency, and it would have just given me, something more creative to kind of pursue rather than becoming kind of like an automaton medical student that was just checking the research box and the grades box and the step box and the volunteer box. It would have been like my thing, my creative kind of outlet. And I kind of wish I had started it earlier and started the journey and bringing you guys along through the journey, maybe even in college or med school. I didn't start it till residency. If I had to do it again, I would definitely kind of pick a creative passion and start cultivating it during med school, just so you don't lose that side of yourself in all the academics of medicine. The fourth thing is I would have picked my away rotations more strategically. And this applies more to ophthalmology specifically, which is what I'm in. Maybe not something like internal medicine, or if you're doing some other subspecialty. You have the option to do away rotations at other programs. It's like an audition rotation where you go for maybe a month to some other program, work there, you shadow, you're kind of like an intern, an AI type, rather than just applied broadly to a bunch of potential away rotation spots in ophthalmology. I would have researched the programs in detail and kind of tried to get a better idea of where I thought I might want to ultimately match. Program X, I would have said, okay, this is a program I would actually like to match into for residency. I'm gonna try to do the away rotation there. The key, if you're gonna do this, you can hurt yourself with an away rotation more than you can help yourself sometimes. So before you go doing an away rotation somewhere, if you really want it to help you, you need to have some kind of understanding of ophthalmology. You need to have like some basic skill sets. So I did like 3 rotations at my home program before I ever went and did an away rotation. So time I got to the away rotation, I could already do stuff that the interns, the actual ophthalmology interns were doing. So I could like applanate, and I could use a slit lamp and an indirect. I could do these things. And so it really just helps you stand out as a residency applicant if you can already do that stuff. So have some basic skills. Pick strategically a place you might want to go. Don't just kind of accept wherever for your away rotations, even if it's like a reach program for you. If it's a program like you might kind of get overlooked at, like if the program's just looking at you on paper, if you can actually do an away rotation there and really stand out, then that can be a huge benefit. What it comes down to when they're trying to pick people to be in the residency programs, is this person going to be able to handle themselves? Are they going to get stuff done? And are they going to be efficient and easy to work with? If you can, that's something you can show people on an away rotation. So if you can do that on your away rotation, you have a lot better chance of matching there. That's something that I would have focused a little bit more on in med school, is being really strategic about those away rotations. The fifth thing is I would have studied alone less. I would have tried to make more friends, and I would have tried to kind of learn the more like collaborative side of medicine, because they always said it was such a collaborative field. It's about working together, and I really just like studied alone in medical school. I like studying that way better. I felt like it was distracting to be studying with other people, and as I've gotten further along in medical education, I realized how much of your career path and trajectory really depends on other people, and just kind of taking ideas from other people and taking help from other people, because they have different skill sets, they have different perspectives. So I really have a lot more collaborative mindset now than I did in med school. So looking back, I wish I had kind of, been a little more like outgoing in med school than I was, and not so introverted. So that's kind of the fifth thing that I would have changed. Guys, those are just 5 things that I would have done differently in med school. In the end, I matched into ophthalmology, which I'm really happy about. I think that could have just kind of made the whole process a little better. Anyways, if you're looking to get into medical school, or you're just starting the journey in medical school, maybe keep some of these in mind. It may kind of help you on the path. I'm Zach with Dr. Eyeball MD. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.